clear implications. English MPs will be unable to vote on the income tax paid by people in Aberdeen and Edinburgh, while Scottish MPs are able to vote on the tax you pay in Birmingham, Canterbury, Leeds or Lincoln. It is simply unfair. And with English votes for English laws, we will put it right. And I want to pay a real tribute to what William Hague has done. He's worked incredibly hard to find a solution that will keep the House of Commons together. That isn't some purist, over-neat solution that ends up creating more problems in the long run, but it is actually a balanced and fair way forward. The solution we're setting out today gives English MPs the decisive say on matters affecting England, while preserving essential parity between all members of Parliament. Now, in a moment, I'll hand over to William to lay out more of the detail on what these changes mean and when the Conservative government will make it. But let me end on this very important point. English votes for English laws is not about fragmenting the UK. It's not about division and difference and pulling apart. It's about making our United Kingdom stronger. Because if you have basic constitutional unfairness like we've had, if you have the people in one part of the UK feel like they get a raw deal, then resentment festers. And that undermines the bonds and the fellow feeling that are the basis of our United Kingdom. It's not always easy to broach these questions, but long term it is the right thing to do. Because I want our United Kingdom to stick together, to keep taking on the world together. And English votes for English laws is a vital part of that. That's why we need a Conservative majority government to see this through. If you want to end this unfairness in Westminster, you have to vote Conservative. And now, over to William, a brilliant politician, a great servant of this party and our country, for exactly what we're going to do. William.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to be here with the Prime Minister and with you this morning. It's great to be in Lincoln and to be able to support Carl, a great champion for the people of Lincoln. And it is vital for Lincoln that the people here vote for him on the 7th of May, and it's in the interest of people all across the United Kingdom to vote Conservative on the 7th of May. The Prime Minister has just set out our proposals for England that will continue to bring growing prosperity. We'll table our proposals within the first 100 days after the general election. And after consultation with the Procedure Committee of the House of Commons and running a pilot test of the new rules, we will fully implement our plan within the first year of the new Parliament and apply it to next year's budget, the budget of 2016. People in all parts of the UK want a bigger say over the decisions, how the decisions affecting them are made. So a new Scotland bill will be in the Queen's Speech of a Conservative government, the first Queen's Speech, and will be introduced in the first session of the new Parliament. We will devolve more powers to the Welsh Assembly, and we will enable devolution to function more effectively in Northern Ireland. All of these commitments are in our manifesto, and we will keep our commitments, our promises to the people of Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. But we're also clear that this cannot be done at the expense of the people of England. Left unchanged, the way in which English laws are made will become steadily less democratic and accountable. It's no longer fair or just for Scotland to be able to decide its own laws in devolved areas, only for Scottish MPs also to be able to have a potentially decisive say on similar matters that affect only England. The current situation is manifestly unfair, undemocratic, and it would be unsustainable. How could it possibly be right, for instance, for the Scottish Parliament to vote for a reduction in air passenger duty in Scotland, and then for Scottish MPs to come to Westminster and be able to impose an increase in air passenger duty in England, or even worse, to do exactly the same thing on income tax? Now, Labour's view seems to be that this would be perfectly acceptable. And that means that this election is a watershed moment for the taxation of people in England. A Labour government would be not only intent on raising taxes anyway, but would be under It's not my claim, it's what they are openly seeking. Nicholas Sturgeon says, think about how much more we could win for Scotland from a Westminster Labour government if they had to depend on SNP votes. Or as Alex Salmon puts it, if you hold the balance, then you hold the power. Day by day, the SNP would be using its leverage in the House of Commons to demand higher taxes, less welfare reforms, more debt, and weaker defences for the UK, and they would not shrink from using that leverage on matters that only concerned England. The only way to prevent that is for a Conservative majority government to be elected at this election. For the next 5 years, the threat of Labour SNP chaos would be averted. But by putting the right rules in place, we would also be able to reduce the risk of that after future elections. Our changes will give an effective veto for English MPs over matters only affecting England, or England and Wales as appropriate, while maintaining the integrity of the United Kingdom Parliament to prevent the wishes of the English or English and Welsh being overridden by the Scottish MPs. Our policy is built on the fundamental principle derived from the 2013 Mackay Commission report that decisions MPs from all parts of the UK will continue to deliberate and vote together, but on both the details and the principle of legislation, and other decisions concerning only England, its MPs representing the English constituencies that will have the decisive say. Now, some people will argue that English votes for English laws would weaken the United Kingdom, but in our view it would be the failure to act on this that would be the true weakening of the United Kingdom. Our vision is for a future of the UK that is fair for all, so that our unique combination of 4 nations in 1 nation is preserved and thrives, so that we make important decisions on peace, war and national defence together, now and always, so that the way our union is governed is fair to all and sustainable for the long term. And it is abundantly clear that only the Conservatives will bring in English votes for English laws and achieve a fair settlement for the whole of the United Kingdom. We will ensure democracy and accountability for all parts of the UK. There's only one way to get that fair deal for England, and that is to vote Conservative on the 7th of May. Thank you very much.
Thank you, William, for all the work that you've done on this vital issue. I'm going to take some questions from national media now. William and I are then going to do some regional media interviews, then we're going to come back and have a cup of coffee and chat with members and supporters about this issue and about the campaign and everything else happening here in Lincoln, and encourage you to get out there and hold your steps for a car and everything you can do in the next 13 days. Let's start with James Bates, my team.
Prime Minister, you said this isn't about English nationalism, you don't want to fragment the UK, but this is presenting some wide-ranging proposals just 2 weeks before the election, playing a dangerous game with the unity of the United Kingdom.
Well, the Conservative Party has been putting forward proposals for English votes for English laws as far back as 2001. We recognise that the growing process of devolution to Scotland and Wales, which is right, which needs to happen, has to be balanced with fairness for English voters too. And the real threat to our constitution, the real threat to the United Kingdom, comes from those who will not engage with this agenda, because it's vital that English voters feel that they are getting a fair deal. I think William's example of air passenger duty is a classic example. If Scotland chooses democratically to slash or abolish air passenger duty for flights from Edinburgh and Glasgow, how can it be right for Scottish MPs potentially holding the balance of power in the future Parliament to then impose higher air passenger duty on English airports? It's just not fair. And the interesting thing about this issue is that Labour and the Liberals are perfectly prepared to meet with us and discuss Welsh devolution, Scottish devolution, devolution to the institutions in Northern Ireland, but they are not prepared to work with us and to deliver this fair moment of English devolution. So there is only one way to deliver this change, and I would argue to keep our United Kingdom united and fair, and that is to support Conservatives.